Welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. We never skip a drink day.
Budrich wants to know how the doctor's doing.
That ended.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hard Hide Conscious Cool Strawberry Whiskey and Chilton County Peach Whiskey. All right, so it's Saints Falcons week. So I had to have the one guy in the world that understands that when the Saints and Falcons they only have 5 wins, that's its most pure, natural state of a rivalry. It's the way God wanted it, wants it. So I had to have Bomani Jones on. Bomani, thanks for joining us to talk a little bit about Saints Falcons. And I want to say this to let people know. The first time I was really exposed to you, I saw you on Page 2 and ESPN and different places. But after the Falcons lost the Super Bowl, and I might have told this story before, the Falcons lost to the Patriots. And on your show, you were so mad at Saints Twitter because they put the little looking eyes during the comeback, and Nola was shooting off fireworks. And you said something like, "I'm off the Falcons narcotic, but I'll hate the Saints forever, and I don't like seeing those people happy."
Till the day I die, man. Till the day I die.
And I thought to myself, this man, he understands Falcons Saints like I've never heard before. And look, I'm in Houston, and the Texans just beat the Titans, right? Who up and stole the Oilers, and Houston doesn't even hate the Titans like that. No other team, NFL teams, especially bad ones, terrible as these two teams are, hate each other like they do. So I'm going to ask you this to start. Why does this rivalry between these two, let's be real, sorry-ass franchises, why does it mean so damn much to the fans? And why does it mean something to somebody like you who doesn't even like the Falcons anymore?
Okay, so like a couple things. Historically, they come in the league, I believe, the same year, right? And I think it is difficult for people of a certain age, even people of my age, to appreciate these are really the first teams in the South, right? I don't in the NFL teams in the South, right? I don't consider Dallas to be. Texas is weird like this, but I don't think of Dallas as like being the South. Houston, yes. Dallas, no. But this is the South moving into these leagues. And then look, man, it's very simple. All they had for the Falcons, really the first 10 years of their existence, but it really is for the first 30 of both teams' existences. All they had was beating each other.
That's right.
They weren't beating anybody else, right? Like they spent Falcons 49ers for a good 15, almost 20 years, just savage beatings up and down. The Saints had that interesting little run at the end of the 80s where they had great defenses and Jim Mora, who's a lot of fun from the outside, but y'all would never go score any points.
That's right.
You know, all these teams had that they could hold on to was playing against and beating each other. Then they both got kind of good around the same time. And it rolled out, the problem with this rivalry now is you can call it an imbalance if you want. I don't know if that's the appropriate way to put it, but the bottom line is the Saints won that goddamn Super Bowl. And that is like such an immutable thing that you can't say anything about except for the fact that it don't change the rest of that shit. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like when you really stop and think about the NFC South, where the team that has the best the Panthers have an argument that they actually have the most illustrious track record in that entire division. You could say, yes, the Buccaneers have 2 Super Bowl wins. They also have the worst record in the history of the NFL. You could go look this up. They have the worst winning percentage in the history of the NFL. The Falcons have their 2 trips to the Super Bowl, one more than the Saints for what it's worth, both of which were embarrassing for completely different reasons. But the Saints, in all their terribleness, right? In all their we're only good with Drew Brees, they got that Super Bowl. And it's never going anywhere. It's getting dusty as hell, too. But that's not the point now, is it?
No, it's not. The thing is with the Saints, people say, oh, we should have got 4. I'm like, man, we got 1.
Yeah, those people have to be under 35. You know what I mean? Like, greedy motherfucker. How dare you? Like, this is... Like it's still crazy that you got 1.
It is in a sense of you look at them before and after. And here's the thing with the Saints Falcons that I think people forget is, listen, I remember as a kid, 15,000, 20,000 Falcons fan would be in the Dome because the Saints didn't sell it out in the 90s when I was a kid, even when they were good. And Saints fans would do the same thing, bus over to Atlanta. And the thing is, Bomani, I think one thing the national media doesn't get that I know you get is Katrina ramped up this rivalry in a very unique way because it made the cities, even though they were close to start with, they have a giant chunk of New Orleans people that went to Atlanta and they never came back.
Correct.
And I just think this rivalry, it's so much fun. But do you, like, before you got off the narcotic, is there anything about the rival, like games or moments that you remember? And yeah, you don't like the Falcons anymore, but you remember it fondly because the Saints got it handed to them.
Oh, I mean, wild card, 1991.
That's right.
At the Superdome, and part of what makes that so amazing is not just that the Falcons won that year, right? With that ridiculously fun, but also just patently ridiculous football team that they had. The best detail, of course, is Michael Haynes, who is from New Orleans, on the Falcons, was really, really good that year for the Falcons. And then he leaves and goes to the Saints, where he promptly stinks. Now, lucky for the Saints in a way, the Falcons also went on to promptly stink immediately after that happened. But that, prior to 1998, is without question the high watermark of Atlanta Falcons football. I guess they had that game they almost beat before I was born, or right after I was born, where they almost beat the Cowboys. In the divisional round, where they won the division in 1980 and almost beat the Cowboys. But that's about it. That's all this team had. But beating the Saints in the playoffs, keeping in mind things people don't realize, the Saints did not win a playoff game in the 20th century.
That's right.
I believe it was not until the year 2000 that they got that one. That was
the one thing is there's a Jim Moore rant. It's lost to history and I can't find it. But that playoff game I remember in 1991, all the Saints corners got injured and they signed Milton Mack on a Wednesday. And the guy who was hosting the radio show asked him about it. And he's like, Milton Mack is going to be fine. And he's like, but you cut him earlier in the year, Jim. Are you worried? And he's like, Milton Mack is going to be fine. Of course, Michael Haynes burned Milton Mack on the winning touchdown for a toast. I could still see Milton Mack's hands outstretched trying to tackle him. But the thing is with this Saints Falcons rivalry, and I want to ask you this question: is listen, it's weird that this rivalry, they're bad, and I look at Arthur Blank, and look, he's given every coach in the year 3, and I joke that Raheem Morris is Black Dennis Allen. He's the retread coach that stunk, but everybody in the building loved him, so they hired him. So my question to you, Bomani, is Raheem Morris going to get fired if he lands back in Atlanta like Arthur Smith? If he loses to the Saints Sunday, are they going to fire Raheem Morris?
So this is interesting because the one difference that I would say between Raheem and Allen was Allen always felt like a bit of a pedestrian sort of hire. When the Bucs hired Raheem, the expectation was that he was a great head coach waiting to happen, or he was he was 31, I want to say, when they hired him. Like, he was way too young to have the job, but the explanation was like, no, man, this guy's a star. Like, this is going to happen. It was actually a bit surprising that it took as long as it did for him to get back, and he went everything. He made the decision, like, I'm going to start coaching offense because offensive guys are the ones that wind up getting these jobs, and then wound up back on defense, I believe with the Falcons, in fact, because he's a Dan Quinn guy. And so he winds up back on defense. He goes with McVay, and then he gets back and, they hired him over Belichick. It is possible that they fire him when he gets back, but I don't think that helps anything. I don't think that's going to improve anything. They got bigger fish to fry right now. Their quarterback, who they knew had bad knees, his bad knee went bad again. Like, you at least think that once the knee is bad and it gets fixed, that at least, okay, we got this one taken care of. Hopefully he's still got the receipt, right? Like, hopefully he can get his warranty on that knee, and then they go check it out. Raheem's problem is, I think it's clear that he's good at something. Because, like, for example, that team's defense shouldn't be as decent as it has been this year, for example. They've made some interesting personnel decisions, right? Some overdrafting. I think people have fair points to make about all of that. Like, all of that, is the case. I get it. But I don't I think whatever he's good at is the stuff that you don't see on television.
Yeah.
And those are always tough cases. Andy Reid used to be that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Weird play calling, bad clock management, but apparently excellent at everything that happened when you didn't have the television on. Maybe that's the case with Raheem. I don't know, but I would not recommend that he fire him on the way back. And let me tell you something. This is important to understand. The reason Arthur Blank is by far the best thing to ever happen to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, granted, they only had 2 owners, but like the reason that he is the best thing that ever happened was, unlike many people in his position, he didn't pretend as though his city wasn't full of black people, right? He was like, we're going to sell them tickets. This is our base. We understand what this is. Like, even to the point of telling Bill Parcells, hey, man, we got a black fan base and we keep that in mind. And Parcells was like, I'm not taking that job. What are you, crazy? But if you run Raheem off faster than you ran the other guys off, I don't care how old you are. That ain't going to play.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, the thing is with Raheem Morris, he won fast at Tampa. He got a 10-win team and a 10-win season. And my thing with Raheem Morris is, man, just hire a guy in your headset to tell you when to call time out. Like Todd Bowles did it. John Harbaugh did it. Like, just have a guy on your headset and be like, hey, Raheem, remember we talked about during the week, we need to do this. And like John Harbaugh says that. And I'm like, why don't more teams do it? Raheem Morris, he's not as bad as Les Miles with the clock, because no one can be as bad as Les Miles with the clock. But like, they're on the same street.
Yeah, it's a humbling thing. The clock thing is weird. It's like, I watch a lot of football with my buddy Nick Wright, who is just badgers people on the clock, and his brain is better on what to do with the clock than like any lay person that I can think of. Like, he could just run through all the game theory scenarios and everything else. It's such an innate thing, right? And it's so interesting that there's so many things that are important to being a head coach. But if you get that one wrong, everybody's going to know it. But apparently you can't teach it to people. Either you get it or you don't. And so for you to hand that off is incredibly humbling, right? Like, this is a decision that the head coach makes, but some people are just really, really bad at it. I don't think I would be bad at it, but maybe when the bullets are flying, maybe I wouldn't be good at it. Like, I have an incredibly fast brain. My brain processes incredibly, unless you're asking me to be the point guard of a basketball team. And now all of a sudden, I feel like I'm standing facing the wrong way on the freeway. Everything's coming at me, right? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But these seem to be very simple things that these guys never get.
Well, the Saints have a coach, Kellen Moore, and his clock management skills, questionable.
And his whole thing, even as a player, was his brain.
That's right. And the thing is, with Kellen Moore, I haven't figured out yet how much of his terrible clock management wasn't really terrible, because he's like, I'm not going to let Spencer Rattler screw this up at the end of halves. He's like, no, we're just going to go to the half and not have a turnover. So, but now he's got the quarterback he wants, so we'll see. So,
well, I think that, hold on, I want to say this. I think that is a fair point when it comes to Moore. I think the other thing is, if I was coaching that terrible team, I just can't imagine all the things that I would be trying to balance and weigh in my mind. And yeah, the clock might get lost in this, because look, they got the guy they wanted, but I think you and I both know they still need a quarterback.
They still probably do. And here's the terrifying thing, Bomani. I know for a fact that if Atlanta hadn't taken Penix and he had fallen to the Saints, they were going to take him. They loved Michael Penix.
It would have made sense, because once the Falcons explained it, it made a lot more sense, which was, we looked at next year and there wasn't no quarterbacks. And by the way, next year came and there wasn't no quarterbacks.
That's right.
Right. Even Cam Ward, who most of us think is really talented, that was a little bit of a stretch for a number 1 overall pick. But they were like, it's now or never if we're going to get a quarterback. Or you wind up where the Saints did, which I guess is not the worst place in the world, but you expect to get a starter with a 2nd-round pick. And their 2nd-round pick, who's my age, does not quite look like an NFL starter. Or like, I'm not sure this is going to happen, I guess is the way to put it.
Well, here's the thing with Shuck is that he showed like a pulse against Carolina and was decent. And we were like, hey, maybe, but we got to cling to, at this point, Saints fans, we got to cling to anything, right? Because the Pelicans are bad, the Saints are bad. But here's my question. And I want to bring it back to the Pelicans, but give me a second. When the Pelicans hired David Griffin, Bomani, they kind of got shamed into it. Let's be real.
Yes.
The league and NOLA media were like, be serious. Act like a goddamn professional team. So Gail Benson and her inner circles, they say, fine, we're going to hire him. They hire him. He's a proper hire. Fast forward, the Pels are still losing. And Gail Benson is tired of it because David Griffin's like, we need better training facilities. I want a better staff. And he wanted to spend more money, and they were like tired of it, and they were losing. So they fired David Griffin. And the next morning, Mickey Loomis's golfing buddy, Joe Dumars, is hired to run the Pelicans. No process, no interviews, just good old Louisiana boy, Joe Dumars, getting the job. And the Pelicans, it really felt like, Bomani, they said, we did it y'all's way. And now we're going to do what we wanted to do all along, which brings me back to the Falcons. We know Arthur Smith was really serious about Belichick, and he got talked out of it by the entire Falcons building. So my question is, could Arthur Blank go old man Leon Hess in the 90s and hire Rich Kotite wild next move for the Falcons? Now, I know it's not Belichick because your former co-host on TV, Pablo Torre, ended Belichick. That can't happen. But could the Falcons do something wild if and when they move on from Raheem Morris?
I will simply point out that their owner is both really rich and really old, right? So the last year that Belichick was with the Patriots, so I guess that was 2023, I called it early. I'm like, hey, he's getting fired at the end of this year. No, he did not earn enough goodwill because Bob Kraft don't got that kind of time, right? Like, he's doing pretty well considering, but Jerry Jones is the most patient, like, super old man that I can possibly think of. But most of those cats, man, they got to make decisions real quick if they want to see what it is that happens. So I think that just about anything is on the board with Arthur in terms of who the hire is. I just kind of look around and I'm like, if the Packers don't fire LaFleur, which is very much so on the board, and I would actually lean toward is likely, then I feel like LaFleur is a guy that if I'm Arthur and I'm like, we're going to make the big move, to me, that would be the guy to try to get. I think that if the Packers let him go, or the Packers may actually try to trade him because they do still have a year left on the deal with him, it's going to be a flood of teams trying to get him. The Giants perhaps being at the top of the list.
Oh, my God. LaFleur with Bijan. Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Look, man, I don't know who's going to play quarterback for the Falcons next year because I don't know, like, if Penix is even going to be able to play next year. Like, what his body has been, I think it raises like some real questions about what it is that he's going to be able to do. But yeah, Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts is the new Darren McFadden for me, which is this is the year that I think he puts it all together. Say that
I'm gonna tell you the nightmare scenario for me for Atlanta that I think is realistic. They fire Raheem January. They say, Gary Kubiak, come on down. And Gary Kubiak says, send a 3rd round pick to San Francisco. I need McCorkle. He can run my offense. I'm going to give Bijan 30 carries a week, and McCorkle's going to throw 20 passes. We're going to be fine. And I think with Atlanta, it would really work.
Man, let me tell you something. You're not going to make me believe that Matt Corkle is good. I know what has happened over there in San Francisco. It doesn't look so bad. The least Atlanta person in the world is Matt Corkle. Matt Corkle might refuse to play in games because it would require him to come inside the perimeter. You know what I mean? Like that up 85 life, he a little bit more up 75 life, I figure, but Matt Corkle is all about that. But I do know something that Atlanta does like as a city, which is SEC guys, especially if they have brought the hammer to Georgia before. Like, I don't know if you remember when Peeler's Price went to Atlanta, they couldn't have been more excited when he was a free agent. They're like, oh, we've heard of him. We've heard of his movies.
He was catching boms for Tennessee.
Right, when Georgia couldn't even sniffle. They were like, yeah. Come on, bring that guy in here.
The thing is with the NFC South, like, to me, it's wide open, but the teams, like, they're just so they can't get it together, you know?
No, like, I can't tell what Tampa Bay is or is not because they play the rest of those Rudy Poos, right? You know, like they seem to look, we get all excited about Baker. I think Baker is at the high end of pretty good, right? Like, he's right, whatever the pretty good to very good, he's right at the cusp of perhaps those two things. They got receivers. Somehow Levante David, still a beast, right? He's been playing for 150 years. They have guys interspersed around here. They got a great left tackle. They got all those things. Todd Bowles, better coach than he was with the Jets, right? Like we got to, like they are doing the rare thing. The quarterback and coach that we all gave up on, and they won the division, 3-4 years in a row. It's kind of
it's going to be 5.
Yeah, kind of crazy to watch. And none of us trust it. Not even a little bit, because they get to play 6 games against the rest of these people.
I mean, thing is, Baker is fun in a way, and that's going to me to my next topic. Your team, or as you like to call them, America's team, Detroit Lions. The Lions beat them in the playoffs, and I'm a devoted listener to your podcast, so it's been like real interesting to see your your evolution from I like Dan Campbell's get down and the coordinators that he's hired to I'm a real life NFL fan again. So I know you've talked about it in your podcast, but was there a moment when you're watching the Lions not in the playoffs or before, and you're like, God damn, I guess I am a Lions fan. I'm on this narcotic and I'm in this with the Lions.
I made the decision when they were eliminated from the playoffs going into the last game of 2022. It was at Lambeau Field. They had no chance of making the playoffs. And the Packers, as I recall, did. And they went out there and they kicked their teeth in Lambeau Field. And I was like, yeah, this is the kind of program that I'm on. I mean, it fully hit me where I was in this. Like, it hurt when they lost that game to the 49ers, right? I was in Vegas that year for the Super Bowl and seeing all my fellow Lions fans in the gear, right? But I was like, hey, man, it was good to feel something again, right? When J-Mo threw that interception on the reverse pass in that game against Washington, that's when I was like, oh, man, I am all the way in. I haven't screamed I do not know the last time I incredulously screamed at a television like I did in that moment, as if somebody could hear me. Like I wasn't there by myself. I just couldn't believe it when I saw him throw the ball. And just as it went, and it was just like, oh, that's an interception. What are you doing? Why are we calling pass plays for the guy that got caught gambling at the facility? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, but you said it. You always thought it was Big Brain Ben. It's really Big Brain Dan.
It's Big Brain Dan. That's the most ironic thing about this big shoulder motherfucker is he loves reverses and option pitches and just weird. He made some really weird calls in that game against the Packers. I'm like, why are we running from the shotgun on 3rd and 4, Dan? What are you doing? But I love him. So, we just have to take the good with the bad.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask you, because both the coordinators for Lions left, and Calvin Shepard, he's getting some little pub for LSU job. That's not.
Yeah, I bet yeah.
No.
Yeah, they're going to have a head coach with dreadlocks at LSU. Yeah, that's going to happen.
I was trying to explain it to a Lions fan very politely, and he's like, he's been great with the defense. I'm like, yes, he has, but in Louisiana, that's never going to happen.
Oh, no, let me tell you. I was going through this count today in my head, and if I missed one, and I don't think I did miss one, there still have only been 4 black head coaches in the SEC. Kevin Sumlin, the 5. Kevin Sumlin, Sylvester Croom, Joker Phillips, James Franklin, and Derek Mason. I don't think I'm missing anybody on that count.
And for people of a particular age, croomed is a verb.
It is.
We say it, and you just say it to somebody, and they nod, and they know it.
Yes.
So here's my final question before we get to the music question. Who's gonna make a worse hire in January? The Falcons, the Titans, the Giants, or LSU?
LSU is not going to make what to me is the right hire to make. Not every hire has to be a long-term hire. Some hires can be short-term hires. And there will be no better short-term hire for that program than the greatest short-term hire that's ever been made for a program. And that's Ed Orgeron. If you're telling me why would I say that 3 years of Ed Orgeron can't turn? He can't stay for too long. Like that was the problem before, was that he stayed too long. But you're telling me you give Ed Orgeron a budget. Ed's going to get you players,
That's right.
And that team is going to play tough football, Now he's got to have some money to go get the coordinators. Like, can he go get Brady and Aranda again, right? Whatever the version of that is. If you want to pay for it, he can. You give him the pieces, you'll have the team. With that in mind, Lane, to me, seems to be pretty clearly right now just playing games with this LSU stuff and the games he wants to go to Florida. This looks like the exact same playbook that Jimmy Sexton ran in 2016 with Tom Herman, and that actually worked out very well for LSU because instead of getting Tom Herman, you got Ed Ogeron and you got a national championship. Okay. Just throwing that out there again for my Ed Ogeron.
You don't have to sell me for Ed Ogeron. I have never really been that invested on who LSU hires as a coach.
Yes.
I wanted Ed Ogeron so bad. And I didn't even admit it. I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. I just need.
It makes you feel good.
It makes me feel good. That's right.
Brian Kelly.
I'm vibes, man. I wanted it.
It's all vibes. This whole world is vibes. That's why this playoff was so stupid. This is a vibe sport, man. James Franklin got fired because the vibes got bad, okay? This is a vibes game. The bottom line is, as long as that governor is going to make the hire, and he's going to make the hire. I don't care what anybody, the same Kelvin Shepherd ain't going to be the coach is the same Verg Osbury ain't going to hire the coach, okay? It's all together. Because of how crazy that scenario is with leadership, it's a new president, all of this stuff. They're going to make the worst hire because they are the ones that are in the midst of the worst chaos. However, I have this thing generally. Bad owners, second generation winds up being okay. Things improve when they pass the team down, right? Good owners, the other way. It winds up going. So bad owners whose kids made the teams better. The Rooneys are an example of this. The Irsay situation with the Colts. Like we laughed at Jim Irsay a lot, but Jim Irsay, he did not inherit a dignified franchise. No. And he turned it into one of the most consistent winners that there had been. Bud Adams, who most of us would have thought was bad owner, except his daughter is stinking up the joint down there, right? Like completely stinking up the joint. So I now have to say that Bud Adams was a good owner because Amy seems to be a bad owner. And this is not, and now it becomes interesting because the third generation of Irsays, those two women seem to be doing a very good job. Although I think that I be on the headset shit is cute all the way up until it's not. Right. Like they're not doing well because she's on the headset. Yeah. Right. Once it could get a little tricky, but all I'm saying is the Titans are going to do something bad too. They're going to. The Giants, I don't think it's on the board that they could do something bad. They hired a jerk. Their mistake was that they just hired a person that you can't do that. This sport doesn't work that way. Not everybody has to love the coach, but you can't have somebody that people just actively dislike. And for LSU, which is such a vibes job, hiring Brian Kelly, terrible, horrible idea. But the Falcons, man, overall, generally speaking, Arthur's done a pretty good job hiring coaches. He's only really hired one flat out bad one, and that problem corrected itself in less than a year.
Funny story. I was watching that game with my mom, and she kept saying to me, "What the fuck is Bobby Petrino doing? He looks like he's about to leave. He's laughing. He's smiling. That man looks like he's going to quit." And I was like, "Mom, be serious." The next day, she calls me and she's like, I told you that man was packing his shit up.
No one has ever given off the I'm in it for me vibes as a head football coach more than Petrino, right? No. Like Kelly does not deal well with people, but Brian Kelly clearly cares that people don't like him. And he doesn't understand why. He seems powerless to fix it, but it's not because he's not concerned with it.
That's right.
Bobby Petrino doesn't care.
Yeah, he might get that job because back to vibes. Arkansas, They want the vibes. They want to feel good.
Yeah, no, he's going to get that job. Write that down. Because who else is going to take that job? Right? They're not going to get a better coach than him. Right? No. He's going to get that job. But the thing with him, all the things that the people are getting on Brian Kelly about, not talking to anybody, not being involved in recruiting, all that stuff. You think Bobby Petrino's out there knocking on doors? going in there meeting parents. Bobby Petrino ain't doing none of that stuff. He ain't doing it at all. But he's like, this is what it is. And people are like, oh, okay, I guess this is just what it is. Now, the question is whether Bobby Petrino like still has his finger on the pulse of what an offense needs to be. And I don't have an answer for that.
Damn. That's the thing. Like in like history, you can look at it where like coaches, they are at least competent on offense and it just passes them by in a blink, like Bum Phillips with the Oilers. His offense run the ball 1,000 times. It worked. And then he got to the Saints and it was like, nope, you might as well be running plays from the 1950s, Bum. But before we get you out of here, my final question. I know you're a huge music fan and a critic.
Indeed.
And guys, you can go to his Bomani Jones website. He wrote a piece on Prince it was on Playboy, but you can go to Bomani Jones website. I'll link it in the description. It's fantastic. So I have a music question for you. I'm not really into rap, but I love DMX and I love Biggie. So when Hypnotize came out in 97, I loved it. And well, my dad, he hated all music post 1980, except for Billy Ocean. So
of all people,
like he like the Billy Ocean, the Going Gets Tough. Like he loved that video. Like it was my father. He loved that, and he loved ABBA. I don't, and everything else is like 1950s and Beach Boys. It was my father's musical taste was very strange. But I'm listening to Hypnotize over and over again. My father comes in my room, and he's like, that crap. He's like, let me tell you something. Whoever that crap is, they're stealing that from Herb Alpert. And I was like, what? Oh man, what are you talking about? I'm like, so he buys me Herb Alpert's Rise album, which I didn't know who Herb Alpert was at all. He bought me the vinyl of it, Bomani, and I was like, this is incredible. And it opened a world to me, like where Herb Alpert, classical music, jazz, all these things that I got exposed to through Herb Alpert. I never, ever get exposed to that if my father doesn't come in and say, he stole the beat on Hypnotize. Biggie stole it. So I'm asking you, what's an artist you discovered because an artist you loved covered them?
So it's not even necessarily an artist I love, but a song I love was Brian McKnight did a version of Crazy Love for the Jason's Lyric soundtrack. And I really dug that. And that was actually my first entryway into Van Morrison, who like low-key is my favorite singer in the world. Now, you want to talk about two singers with nothing in common. That is Brian McKnight and Van Morrison. Like, their vibes are completely opposite on both of them. But that is one. I've been thinking about this. And, like, that's one where that happened.
The only thing I'll say about Van Morrison, I've been to 2 concerts in my life that I walked out and I was mad at the person that gave the concert. Not because it was bad, but because I felt like
you felt disrespected. You felt as though he cared not a single bit. Guess who did that to me? Van Morrison.
He did that to me. And Counting Crows, the guy, I went with my wife, I forget his name. He sang 80% of the show with his back to us. I was like, this is disrespectful. I can't.
Now, I need to ask Adam about that. That's my buddy. Like, we're actually like we're buddies. I didn't know he did that. Van Morrison may as well have turned his back on him. I ain't never been in a situation where they play Glory as the last song and he's walking off the stage. And I looked at my brother and said, we can go right now because it ain't about to be no encore. Like, I assure you, I've never seen anybody less enjoy performing for people less.
Well, I've seen Counting Crows because my wife loves it. I've seen him a bunch of times, and he never did it quite that way. But it was at the Bayou Center in Houston, and I was like, "Man, this is crazy." He's not even turning around. But anyway,
Adam.
But Bomani, thanks for joining us, guys. You know where to find Bomani. Search him. It's where podcast is. Bomani would say podcast wherever they're giving away for free. Bomani, I can't thank you enough, and I have a feeling that either Atlanta or the Saints, it doesn't feel like it now, but one of them is about to not be terrible, and it makes the rivalry so much harder for the team that's not bad. Although I have to say, this is as down bad as I've ever seen the Falcons fans.
Well, as I will say this, as down bad as the fans may be, their team is not nearly as down bad as the Saints are. Like, the Saints look like they're going to be bad for a really long time.
Well, it does help if you have the person that runs the team, Bomani, if he has Supreme Court justice job security, it can be a problem.
It can. They're so bad. And I was hoping Spencer could get it going. I met him at the Super Bowl. He was, for all of the rap, I hate it for Spencer that he's fighting off what people thought of him as a 17-year-old. Like, that's terribly unfair.
The thing that was weird about Spencer was the debate about him in New Orleans was never really about that. I root for Laundry. So I root for whoever. But the thing with Spencer that was so interesting to me, and I have a friend in Houston. He's a crazy Saints fan, and he was a ride or die guy with Spencer. And I said to him, why are you like this? And he said, listen, he said, my father was an Oilers fan. When the Oilers left, I became a Saints fan. But he said, we are black. And my father told me, you do not say a bad word about Warren Moon or other black quarterbacks. And he says, you do not. And he says, I don't care that it's a different time. I don't care, whatever. I'm not going to. And I think like that, to me, Bomani, that it sounds strange, but that informed me. I was like, oh, I get it now. I get it.
Totally get it. I talk about that on my show all the time. Like, I think we got enough of them now that we ain't got to live like that no more. But there was definitely a time, like my dad, hey, Tony Banks can play. Like, he was just really adamant about, like, Tony Banks being good when the results were directly in front of us. And it was clear that he was not. That's the thing, man. We used to not have enough of them. What's funny, though, about that is, and it wasn't this way with Moon in Houston, but the farther you get in this, hey, man, black coach, black quarterback, whatever, brothers got a lot more patience for them when they play for other teams. When they play for your team, it is amazing. You start sounding like the white man, just like that. Just like that. Like Jalen Hurts, Donovan McNabb, they both went through that in Philly. Like, damn, it's your own people. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They want to win, too.
Spencer, the thing that was so confound me about Spencer is they fixed his sack problem, but like his reckless abandon at South Carolina, like it was gone. Like at South Carolina, he was like, I'm going to run around. I'm going to make shit happen. But the Saints, it was like, I'm not going to get sacked and I'm going to do check downs. I was like, Spencer, let's do the ride or die South Carolina thing. Let's crash and burn. But
that's the thing. This team stinks.
That's right.
Like, look, this is the Giants season. I don't know how many games Jameis is going to play, right? But Jackson Dart is giving them the same thing that Jameis gave them last week. Just a good time. Just a good time. People want to enjoy this. They know they're not going to be good. At least Joe Flacco, I love him as a backup. He was just like, why am I out here trying to nickel and dime? I'm here for a good time. Don't you want to have a good time? Let's have a good time.
We're going to end on this, and I'm going to tell you this. I know it's different. It's not a backup quarterback with losing, but I'm going to tell you, Teddy Bridgewater is going to go into the Saints Hall of Fame. He is beloved. He was 5-0. They're going to put him in. He's not going to be Ring of Honor, but they're going to put him in, and he is universally beloved. If you say something bad about Teddy Bridgewater, Saints fan won't fight you on a lot of stuff. They will fight you over Teddy Bridgewater.
The only man that found a way to dislike Teddy was David Tepper, and that tells you everything that you need to know.
All right, we'll end on that, guys. Bomani, thanks for joining us. And guys, thanks for listening. Support the show. Go to patreon.com/Saints Happy Hour. It allows us to keep doing this. And until next time, the bar is closed.